We've been asking for proof of life. Did we get it?
Well, we certainly saw someone who looked like him, or, as I had said in conversations before, which I imagined had been recorded.
In fact, for all of you who have been asking on all the other YouTubes that we've uploaded, why aren't you talking about Julian Assange? We thought we had an uploaded. Well, it turns out we didn't. So here we are right now.
Possibly. And if we are repeating ourselves, please
We're
let
sorry.
us know. Because
Yes.
I said things like, whether it was in the conclave or wherever, I thought we recorded the fact that I had already said a lot of these things, so I'm going to say them again. The lady who was there taking the pictures, at first we couldn't see those pictures, and now we see them, and so she took pictures of him inside of that vehicle, and it did look like him, and he's given his, his peace sign and his thumbs up and so on and so forth. It looks like him. Now, the big question is, will he survive the British prisons? Because he has, of course, appeared before the judge for breaking his bail. And now Sweden, who had dropped the charges, now are saying, oh, it's not past the statute of limitations, so we could charge him again. And then they're saying, well, you have to wait until May before the court can actually determine whether we can send you for extradition back to America. Well, the extradition for Assange happened a long time ago. The crimes were in 2010, 2011. And what was the crime that he was charged with? He was charged with helping Chelsea Manning try to break a code after she had already broken all the codes and given him just untold amounts of pages from with her national security clearance that she had when she was in the military in Iraq. So what are they accusing him of? That she couldn't break one of these codes, so she called up Julian Assange, and he supposedly helped her break the code. Okay. And then you see in the newspaper articles and in the news articles today, what do you see? Garbage, calling him a hacker. Really? When did he hack anything? That isn't his job. His job is to offer whistleblowers money and then print it just like the New York Times with their all of their sources that they never tell you who they are. So Julian Assange protects his sources. That's the part they hate. Now, there's a lot going on here, so it's going to take a little bit to explain this. Why is this happening now? It's happening now because Chelsea Manning was recently pulled into her grand jury case again, and they questioned her, and she refused to answer questions about Julian Assange, quoting that she had already answered all questions before in her indictment, and that they cannot, in fact, try her for the same crimes again. Why are they even questioning her over the same crimes again? Aha! Think about this. Why would they? And so what did they do? After Obama, reduced her 35-year sentence, commuted her 35-year sentence to 7. She's been out, and then just recently, she was locked up again. How can this be? Why would they open that case again? Plus, there's a statute of limitation on that. Plus, even if Julian Assange were guilty of helping her with that, it would only be conspiracy to commit a crime. It wasn't even a crime that was committed. So and plus he's not a hacker, and he is not a code breaker. That is not what he does. So these are absolutely bogus, ridiculous charges. Why would there be bogus, ridiculous charges? Well, in 2010, it was the enemy in the White House who wanted to, literally, according to Hillary Clinton, send a drone to blow up Julian Assange, because Julian Assange had revealed what a breach took from the Democratic National Committee's server and from Hillary's server and from John Podesta's emails and made them public. Most people have ignored them. If we hadn't ignored them, because not one single page of anything Julian Assange has ever put out has ever been contested and found to be false. He's got a perfect track record. Does the New York Times, the Post, the Washington Beacon, any of the others, CNN, they have a perfect track? No. He has a perfect track record. What he's doing is perfectly legal. And what they did to him with the charges of sexual assault on 2 women who had consensual sex long time before they supposedly brought this to his attention. Here's what his crime was. Both women who were his girlfriends at the time said that he wouldn't use a prophylactic. That was it. That's why he's been in jail.
Well, we all know his real crime was that he interfered with Queen Hillary's ascension to the throne in Washington.
Correct, and he's been basically in a British jail in the Ecuadorian embassy
No,
for all
it's
this
really
time.
more like the Queen's dungeon. That's where she keeps her political prisoners.
Absolutely, that's actually the phrase you used before, and it's right.
Well, it is true.
He was in the dungeon. He was locked up in Whitehall. He was locked up in the Tower. And what did they let him do? They kept taking away more and more of his rights, more and more of his ability to communicate with WikiLeaks. He hasn't directed WikiLeaks for a long time. They said that, I'm going to go into this with the Ecuadorian president, who's a big, fat friggin' liar.
I swear, didn't we talk about this in an audio before?
We absolutely did.
And so that's why we didn't do a special audio on Julian. Okay,
Correct.
We're sorry for the repeat, but go ahead.
Okay, so this one will have a thumbnail that shows Julian.
Yeah,
so
and then
people
everybody
will
will know we talked about him.
So the Ecuadorian president, big, fat friggin' liar. Okay, look at his talk. What does he say? He says Julian was attacking Ecuador from his telephone. Julian doesn't have a telephone. I mean, could they get their facts right? Okay, Julian didn't do anything against Ecuador recently, but the Ecuadorian president had to come up with the reason he was violating international law, which he recently signed about a year ago. He signed a reinstallment of asylum processes, and basically America and Ecuador and many other countries signed this. So he's going against that to basically say why he is basically violating the asylum. And when it comes down to it, it's because he says that the British said that Julian had broken protocols. Now, here's what the news gets today. The news now says that he smeared feces on the wall. Okay, I doubt that. That is insane. That accusation is completely baseless, of course, and it's showing the insanity they have to go through to call him now a smearer, to call him now a hacker, to call him now a criminal, to call him now some kind of sexual person who attacked two women. No, he did not. Absolutely absurd. That he broke his bail. He broke his bail when he sought asylum, and he left the court and he went to the Ecuadorian embassy where they offered him asylum. That's not breaking bail. And if you followed the international law, Britain, which you didn't sign the agreement that Ecuador and America did, but if you followed that law, then you'd know that what you did is and are doing right now is completely unethical. You're going to hold him in a prison, and I'm sure you're not going to protect him just like you did with Tommy.
No, they don't want him alive.
No, Tommy, just what they did with Tommy Robinson. Exactly. They're going to try to kill him in jail, literally, and Julian knows this. He's already said it, of course. And the question is, will that even be him in jail? And the question will be, can we trust the British government? The answer is no. Because this false bail thing, this false extradition, that they would literally extradite someone because two women, many, many years before, accused him of not using a prophylactic?
Well, I want to give you my take on it.
This is insane. Now, here's what's really going on. What was really going on is Obama knew back in 2010, 2011, and remember, he tried to get Chelsea Manning on his side by commuting her sentence. He wanted Julian Assange basically put in jail. He wanted him out of commission. Why? Because Julian was revealing again and again things that were embarrassing to the Democrats. And then, of course, once Julian revealed the DNC WikiLeaks release, then, of course, if anyone would have read that, that should have taken Hillary directly out of the running. But it didn't. And it should have put Podesta in jail. But it didn't. Because nobody pays attention to WikiLeaks because they say they were stolen. Who cares that they're stolen? Vault 7 was stolen. Snowden was stolen. Chelsea Manning was stolen. All these things were stolen. And by the way, you probably have never seen any of the things that Chelsea Manning released. And so it wasn't jack. It wasn't important. It wasn't anything. And that is the reason that her sentence could be commuted. But then, supposedly, the last little tiny bit that was given out was because a new password was found, and Julian Assange helped her find the password. That's a lie. What they're scared of now, terrified, and the reason this is happening is not because Trump specifically ordered it. I'm sure he was told that Chelsea Manning had to be locked up again. How could she be locked up for the same crime? Habeas corpus. You can't be tried for the same crime twice. That is against the law. Everyone knows that. So how could she be locked up because she pled the fifth during a grand jury questioning? You, of course, can plead the fifth during a grand jury questioning. This is insane what they've done to her. So I have to assume that they did that to her as probably a way to get Julian over here. Because remember, Julian said through some people in our Congress who wanted him to have immunity. Rand Paul is one of the people who wanted him to have immunity. But they wanted him to come over to testify and say where he got the DNC information from, because some people believe it came from Seth Rich, and then Seth Rich was murdered the night before he was
like
going to...
Donna Brazil's thugs.
Yeah, well...
I just want to say, Donna Brazil's not out of the woods yet. She's one big swamp gator that we need to do a little expose on.
The more criminal you are, the more likely you're going to become a commentator on mainstream media, and she's a commentator along with Clapper and Brennan, and Comey's on there so much he might as well be a commentator. So these are the criminals that they hire. This is like hiring Oliver North as he's a criminal. He's already been convicted. How about Karl Rove? He's been convicted twice, and he's your consultant? This is what they do. But anyway, going back, why do they want Julian Assange here? Just like they wanted Kim.com. Kim.com and advocates for Julian Assange said, look, Mueller, give us immunity, because Kim.com has some charges against him, and there are no espionage charges against Julian Assange. That is a lie. No such thing. So all of those who say he's a spy, he's espionage, he's a hacker, those are all lies. So they had said, advocates said, bring those guys over here, and they will testify, because Kim.com says he too helped prepare the information that was then given to WikiLeaks, and he has proof of it. Well, WikiLeaks has proof of whoever gave it to them, of course. We know Craig Murray at one point said that he literally came to America and received this jump drive from a member of the DNC that was upset with the DNC because of the criminality they were seeing on this server. And that criminality would be both stealing money from Bernie Sanders, the money laundering that was going on, and also the manipulation of databases that were being used to target people for behavioral manipulation, and then they would approach them to donate. So this was literally a behavioral mind control, brainwashing donation campaign that was also, they'd see George Soros's directions to John Podesta and Hillary Clinton, he's been running the Democratic Party for a long time, Democrat Party. And then we'd also see all the corruption of Hillary through Uranium One. We'd see what they, all this stuff that was there. So just read the WikiLeaks. And when you do, you'll see it's a great favor to all of us, because this is criminality. It doesn't matter that it was stolen by a whistleblower. It's criminality. And that criminality has now been brought to the surface. And I'm afraid that Seth Rich probably died for this. Some say he's still alive. I don't think so. I think he was probably killed for it. And Donna Brazil's story is what convinces me that she says that she believes that he was killed by Russians, when that's complete nonsense, and that she would close the blinds because she was afraid the Russians were going to send a sniper to shoot her too. And we know that there was nothing sincere about anything she ever said about Seth Rich. So what we need to have happen is the following. We need Julian Assange to get through the British prisons without being killed. We need him to be extradited here so that...
Well, how about this? How about if POTUS just picks up the phone and calls Richard Dearlove and says, hey, this Spygate thing, I understand, is going to fall in your lap. And then put a little pressure on him to send Assange over here, healthy, whole, and happy.
It would be Dearlove who is going to attempt to probably assassinate Assange while he's in prison. Dearlove, Halper, all of the people who are guilty over there, because if Julian Assange comes and he gets immunity, an immunity deal to basically tell us...
He's a linchpin that just snaps it all into place, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and this is why it's beautiful timing, but it's bad timing in that we know that very soon the FISA documents will be redacted, unredacted, and that will show the British spy gate upon Trump. Well, Julian
It's
is the
called
linchpin.
espionage.
It's
not
espionage.
British Spygate. The British are not permitted to come over here and spy on us. Okay?
It is an attack against our
America
republic.
and our republic. They tried, the British monarchy and the Privy Council attempted to overthrow the President of the United States. That makes the British monarch and the Privy Council enemies.
Now, you can't charge Julian with a bigger crime if you get him over here for the crime that you extradited him for. This is a beautiful little law that perhaps William Barr certainly knows. And he could be doing the making sure that the extradition happens to protect Julian Assange before the FISA redactions are then unredacted, because it's going to explode our connection, and especially our Intelligence 5i connection with Britain. So get Julian over here, and then Chelsea Manning cannot be released from prison until the grand jury investigation is either over or she stops pleading the fifth and supposedly starts to cooperate. Well, when Julian gets over here after May, if he survives the British government, who it's pretty tough surviving them, so my odds there are a flip of a coin. And if he gets over here, he could blow open the whole case. And the thing with Chelsea Manning and the case that she's concerned with, they won't even tell us what it is. So how is it? I believe it probably is concocted, and that the new grand jury, secret grand jury that she has been called before, could be a ruse that recently was created so that they can get Julian to come over to testify.
Well, that's what they're freaking out about, because it was the British that showed us how these star chambers work. You know, the special councils and the grand juries where nobody really knows what goes on. And so now maybe that's being used against them for our purposes.
Oh, yeah, very possible. And when Julian gets over here, if he survives, then I believe that we would all agree that the conclave would agree that he will be the linchpin, and that he will not be convicted, and that he won't be convicted for anything beyond what they're bringing him over here for extradition purposes because of the laws that exist, international and also specifically
I'll have to put
U.S. laws.
what is it called, a rule or something? I'll put that in the description box because it's an interesting aspect of, what do you call this law? It's an international law.
The extradition laws?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and and in that fine print is possibly what's occurring right now. But for all the folks out there that are just having hissy fits, that Donald Trump stood there and said, WikiLeaks is really not my thing. Well, yes, people, what do you expect him to do? To come out and tell you everything he knows and the detailed plan of how he might be able to get Julian here and free from where he is over there? You people are just doofuses.
Now, when Trump said, "I love WikiLeaks," during the campaign, he was making a joke about the WikiLeaks release that showed the Democratic National Committee to be so horrible. But guess what? No one paid any attention to it. So what does it matter? Did he have anything to do with it? Absolutely not. Did Roger Stone have anything to do with WikiLeaks? Absolutely not. Those were lies and bragging on Stone's part. So what's going to happen? We don't believe he will be convicted for this conspiracy to basically break into a secure government set of files. No, he didn't do that. He couldn't help with that. And if Chelsea Manning testifies, then that will probably clear him. And then they won't be able to hold any other laws that he's broken above his head. And we will see that the freedom of speech, which he is the representative at this moment, if he makes it over here out of no freedom of speech in Britain, and he gets here, it is very possible that once he's vindicated, that this will then create a continuing avalanche, which we've already seen, of news agencies being sued for lying because they know they're lying. And so with Julian Assange, just be careful as you're listening to all these reports. So many of them are just now exploding lies. It's as if they're not even waiting for Avid or ISIS management to give them the narrative against Julian. They're just making stuff up and throwing it at him. And of course they're going to say, he's a Russian spy. Trump's behind him. Trump's not behind him. Trump said he loves WikiLeaks. because of the big joke that was happening at the time.
But this gives the media, the propaganda media, something to talk about that's as big as what they should be talking about right now, which is Trump talking about coup and treason. And you see, all that happened. Trump talks about that, and boom, here are all the headlines over on propaganda drudge site about Julian Assange. And you go, whoa, why is it you want me to look at this and don't want to explore the coup d'etat?
And they don't want to explore the fact that William Barr said the other day that there were
spying,
multiple spying going on. And oh yes, absolutely.
Surveillance.
Call it whatever you want, but when it is illegal surveillance, you can call it spying. And then, as someone pointed out, when one party spies on the other one and uses the White House to weaponize the incumbent party, that's spying.
Boy,
Sorry.
Obama is a dummy, isn't he?
Not only that, let's remember all the spies who were involved in this, the British, Ukrainian, Estonian, Russian.
Yes.
We listed, Mueller's invisible 25 Russian fairy tale figures that he supposedly indicted. We gave you the 25 real Russian criminals who should be indicted, and if William Barr does his job, and if he listens to our site, then we've already done the work for him. So go ahead and just indict those 25 Russians so that the Democrats can be happy that there was Russian meddling in the 2016 election, because there was huge Democratic Russian meddling. Well, Julian Assange and everyone like him who print whistleblower material, the whistleblowers didn't reveal it with the intent of going to jail. There are whistleblower laws. And by the way, the person put in charge of whistleblowers was John McCain's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the reason no whistleblowers and none of their content has come forward during the entire Obama administration.
Hey, Megan.
Take a look at that.
Hey.
Take a thought. There's been tons of whistleblowers. No content has ever come forward because they've held it in the FBI.
Meghan McCain, your daddy was a traitor. Your daddy was a traitor to the United States and the people of America, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. And for all you other criminals running around like Nellie and Bruce Orr, your son Michael, who works at the U.S. Copyright Office, he's also going to have to live his days knowing that his parents were the biggest traitors to America other than the other 30 that went before him.
And the Orr's other child, the daughter, who also works at the Copyright
too.
Office.
And how about, no, that's James Comey.
No, James Comey's daughter is in the Southern District of New York and is on the Trump case.
Okay.
Not going to recuse herself. She's on the Trump case. Though her daddy got fired by Trump, she's not going to recuse herself. No conflict of interest there.
The Orrs have a daughter? You said
Yes.
They have a daughter
we
too?
haven't confirmed it.
So,
I'm stating
like,
something we have yet to confirm.
Victoria Nuland, do you have family? I mean, all you people out there running around creating treasonous acts in the United States, you have children and grandchildren, and they will be forever labeled by the rest of the patriots in America for the deeds that you left them holding.
John Kerry's son, Christopher Hines.
Hunter Biden, he'll never make it out, Joe.
So when Chelsea Clinton, no one's going to elect you because your parents are the most two corrupt people ever in
After all of her accounts
history.
are seized, she has no skills. She's going to be a bag lady out there in San Francisco.
So Julian Assange, who is a freedom fighter for free speech. Well, right now, free speech is ended in the European Union. It's ended in Britain. They're trying to end it here in America. And this is a fight for all of us. He is our representative. He's the icon. He is the Tolku. Now, whether you agree with him or not, it doesn't matter. He has the right to do what he has been doing, and he has broken no laws, unless you want to say that when New York Times prints an article from a source that they won't quote, if they've committed a crime, perhaps Julian has committed a crime. But that's not the case. The case is Julian hasn't committed any crimes, and we hope and pray that he can come over here and finally tell us who it was that breached the Democratic National Committee's server, and that will basically explode all of the Russian myth that has been perpetrated by the Democrats.